A Chen Yen King says, "In the person who sees the truth of the origin, there is no view of non-existence. In the person who sees the truth of cessation, there is no view of existence. For these various reasons, we speak of the emptiness of dispersion." Prakrtisunyata. 10th section. Emptiness 12. Emptiness of essences. Chapter 48 from Preliminary Note. 1. The emptiness of internal dharmas. 2. The emptiness of external dharmas. 3. The emptiness of external and internal dharmas. 4. The emptiness of emptiness. 5. Great emptiness. 6. The emptiness of the absolute. 7. The emptiness of the conditioned. 8. The emptiness of the unconditioned. 9. Absolute emptiness. 10. The emptiness of dharmas without end or beginning. 11. The emptiness of non-dispersion. 12. The emptiness of essence. 13. The emptiness of all dharmas. 14. The emptiness of specific characteristics. 15. The emptiness of non-perception. 16. The emptiness of non-existence. 17. The emptiness of existence. 18. The emptiness of non-existence and of existence. Sattvasunyata is the non-existence of the being, of the soul, of the self, of the living being, of the man, of the individual. All these words are only designations of the group of fragmentary entities. The notion of Atman against which the Buddhists struggled is that of a permanent, stable, eternal, immutable entity which the ignorant attribute to the great Brahman, to some deities, to themselves or to others. The Buddha resolutely moved away from it and declared, "Nothing is outside of Sattvasunyata. Non-existence." In order to be convinced of that, it is necessary to recall some elementary notions. Dharmas or things occur in two main categories: unconditioned, asamskrta, dharmas, and conditioned, samskrta, dharmas. The unconditioned, not formed by causes, are unproduced, without extinction, and without duration change. The conditioned, also called formations, are dependently originated from causes and conditions and furnished with three conditioned characteristics: birth, extinction, and duration change, as a function of which they arise, endure, and disappear. The canonical texts arrange the conditioned into three classes, all three covering one single grouping. I. The five skandhas or aggregates. 1. Matter or corporeality. 2. Sensation. 3. Concept. 4. Volition. 5. Consciousness. 2. The 12 ayatanas or bases of consciousness, namely, the 6 inner bases. 1. Eye. 2. Ear. 3. Nose. 4. Tongue. 5. Body. 6. Mind. And the 6 outer bases. 7. Matter. 8. Sound. 9. Odor. 10. Taste. 11. Touch. 12. Dharma. 3. The 18 dhatus or elements, namely the 6 organs and the 6 objects in the previous list, plus 13. Eye consciousness, ear consciousness. 15. Nose consciousness. 16. Tongue consciousness. 17. Body consciousness. 18. Mental consciousness. If the samskaras conditioned are not a self and do not belong to a self, it is because they are impermanent and painful. Short and brief is the life of humans. It abounds in suffering and torments. It is like a mountain river that goes afar, runs rapidly, carries everything in its passing. There is no second, no minute, no hour that it stops. It forges ahead, whirls about, and rushes on. For the one who is born here below, there is no immortality. Then why look for a self in these samskaras, so transitory, so fragile, so untrustworthy? Does somebody say? In the mind. But it would be better to take as the self the body that can last 1 year, 2 years, or even 100 or more years, rather than the mind. For what is called mind or consciousness arises and disappears in perpetual change, day and night. The mind is like a monkey frolicking in the forest that grasps one branch, then lets it go to grasp another branch. There are 3 types of suffering. Suffering as the fact of being conditioned, and the suffering resulting from change. All the psychophysical phenomena of existence are the result of causes and must disappear. The result is that everything is suffering. All that is experienced as suffering. The whole process of becoming takes place outside of a self, and there is no self to control it. Form is not a self. If it were a self, this form would not be subject to torments, and one would be able to say in regard to the form, "My body is thus is not my body." But that is not the case. And it is the same for the other skandhas, sensations, concepts, volitions and consciousnesses. As conditioned dharmas. The skandhas, arising, enduring a very short time and ceasing, evolve ceaselessly in the cycle of existence according to the immutable mechanism of the 12-membered dependent origination. Pratityasamutpada, meaning dependent arising or dependent origination. The dependent arising pratityasamutpada was discovered by the Buddhas but was not created by them nor by any agent whatsoever. This pratityasamutpada, dependent arising, has not been made by me nor by anyone else. But whether the Tathagatas appear in this world or not, this nature of the dharmas is stable. Dependent origination is inherent in conditioned dharmas. Each of its members, dependent arising, including ignorance which opens the list, prevails over its neighbor. All are equally impermanent, conditioned, result from dependency, given to destruction, to disappearance, to detachment, to suppression. One would search in vain in the pratityasamutpada, dependent arising, for a substantial self or an autonomous agent. There is action, there is retribution, but there is no agent that, at death, puts aside these skandhas, 5 aggregates, and takes up other skandhas, 5 aggregates. Unless that is a question of a conventional metaphor to designate the law of dependent origination. What are the 5 skandhas? 1. Form 2. Feeling 3. Perception 4. Mental formations 5. Consciousness. The non-existence of the self involves or assumes the non-existence of the mine, and vice versa. If the me existed, there would be a mine. If the mine existed, there would be a me. But since the me and the mine do not truly exist, certainly, is it not complete folly to think, this world is me. After my death, I will be permanent, stable, eternal, immutable, and I will remain so forever. The emptiness of beings serves as antidote to the fatal satkaya drishti or belief in an individual. This is a wrong view, mistakenly attributing a self to the 5 aggregates of attachment. Actually, the person who believes in the self wishes to be happy after his death and, to this end, practices generosity, observes morality. All good actions assuring a rebirth in the world of men or in the heavens. But belief in an I is incompatible with the spiritual Buddhist life, the uprooting of desire, access to nirvana. Taking a small pellet of dung in his fingers, the Buddha said to his bhiksus, Belief in the existence of a permanent, stable, eternal and immutable self, be it as small as this pellet, will ruin the religious life that leads to the complete destruction of suffering. When the Buddha speaks of the Atman as an obvious thing, he is, naturally, coming from a worldly point of view and is adopting the current language. Monks reject that which is not yours. Form, feeling, concept, volition and consciousness are not yours, reject them and, doing this, you will derive benefit and happiness. Single quote. If the Buddha orders his monks to reject the skandhas, 5 aggregates, it is not only because they're empty of self and mind, but perhaps also because they're empty of intrinsic nature and characteristic. The Buddha always varied his teaching according to the aspirations and needs of his listeners. To some he taught the existence of the self, to others, the non-existence of the self. Influenced by nihilistic views, some of his disciples doubted that there is an afterlife, the reward for the good and punishment for the wicked throughout lifetimes, removing in this way any sanctions on morality. The Buddha therefore taught them that wherever a self is produced, that is where its action ripens, and when this action is ripe it undergoes retribution in the present life, in the next life or in future lives. On the other hand, drawn to eternalistic views, others imagine that they go from existence to existence, that they abandon one body to take up another and undergo, from age to age, the consequences of their own actions. They do not endanger the norms of morality but, nonetheless, they fall into the fatal belief in the self, the root of desire and the source of wrong views. 10th section. Emptiness. 12. Emptiness of essences. The concept of prakrti. Emptiness of essences. The prakrti of dharmas is eternally empty but, borrowing the karmic series, it seems not to be empty. Thus the prakrti of water by itself is cold. If one brings it close to fire, it becomes hot. If one puts out the fire, it becomes cold again. It is the same with the prakrti of dharmas. As long as the karmic conditions are not present, it is empty, non-existent, like the prakrti of water, eternally cold. When the conditions come together, the dharmas exist like the water that